Tonight on The Wrap, more files relating to the appointment of Peter Mandelson reveal how he accused the Prime Minister of lacking verve and described the operation inside Number 10 as beleaguered and bereft. President Trump says Israel and Hezbollah have agreed to dial down fighting in Lebanon after Iran warned that its ceasefire with the US was being threatened by escalating violence there. A killer who murdered a student before lying about being a victim of a racist attack is jailed for life. No medicine, no power. Sky News goes undercover inside Cuba's struggling hospitals as US sanctions bite. Plus, Serena Williams confirms her return to competitive tennis in the UK later this month. We discuss the day's biggest stories with the Daily Mail's Sarah Vine and the Daily Mirror's Kevin Maguire. Plus, a first look at the front pages of tomorrow's newspapers, including the coverage of the latest Mandelson files. Good evening, Sarah and Kevin. Welcome. A bruising assessment of the Prime Minister by Lord Mandelson was laid bare in more files released today by the government. In messages to senior ministers, the peer accused Sir Keir Starmer of lacking verve with a Downing Street operation that was beleaguered and bereft. Well, the comments also show that Lord Mandelson promised ministers that they wouldn't regret hiring him as US ambassador. Kevin's already giggling at that. Regret doesn't quite cut the emotions they're experiencing now.
I don't think anybody who has ever hired Peter Mandelson hasn't come to regret it, but reading those files and the comments, I think you could hear the sound of nails being hammered in Keir Starmer's coffin as Prime Minister.
Sarah?
Yes, I mean, but it's extraordinary, the level of infighting, of ambition, the backstabbing. You know, we're just getting a real window on the reality of politics and how it works.
We are indeed. Well, the files relating to Lord Mandelson's appointment also reveal that he refused to hand over his own phone messages. He was sacked as US ambassador last September following revelations about his relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. He denies any wrongdoing. Our first report tonight comes from our political editor, Beth Rigby.
Once a towering figure in Labour, now casting a long shadow over Starmer's government. Another blow for not just the PM but his senior team too. Thousands of secret documents released today relating to Lord Mandelson revealed the extent to which this former ambassador strayed very far from his brief, with private misgivings around Starmer and his strategy made public. Key ally Pat McFadden in the firing line as dozens of WhatsApps between the Prime Minister's key cabinet ally and Mandelson were disclosed. Mandelson telling McFadden Keir lacks verve, as does the cabinet as a whole. And Number 10 was beleaguered and bereft, while the now Work and Pensions Secretary lamented the lack of welfare reform to Mandelson, saying, "Every meeting I have is, who can we tax in order to pay benefits to others? They're asking the wrong questions." And he didn't hold back on the PM's predicament over failed welfare reforms last year, saying, "It's very bad. Defeat, pull the bill or gut it, destroys his authority, Keir's authority." Soon after the documents dropped, the Chief Secretary to the PM, Darren Jones, was dispatched to the Commons.
The documents we are publishing today are one of the largest government publications ever laid before this House. This disclosure process has been wide-ranging, costing the Cabinet Office alone over £1 million. With the exception of the small number of documents that are withheld at the request of the police, which we intend to publish when the police are content for us to do so, the government now considers that it has duly discharged the duties set out in the humble address.
The government unable to publish evidence that Keir Starmer claims will prove he was misled. But ministers were quick to highlight this handwritten note from Mandelson to the then Foreign Secretary David Lammy, saying, "If you are minded to appoint me, I would make sure you never regret it." That a promise far from kept. Regret not just for the PM, but his MPs too.
The challenge for all of our constituents is that every time this subject comes up, they cannot shake the sense that Peter Mandelson's business interests hang like a grubby layer across decision-making in this government, and the concern that his behaviour was a symptom rather than the cause of the problem that we face.
The opposition accused the government of a cover-up as information considered prejudicial to UK national security or international relations was redacted.
We know that there is no good legal basis for the government not to disclose to this House which documents are being withheld. The government should tell us. This is obfuscation. It is an unnecessary attempt to defer scrutiny or deny it.
The Mandelson files bring yet another dark day, not just to the Prime Minister, but his wider government too, as this massive dump of documents revealed Mandelson's influence across the Prime Minister's top team and his clear frustration at the man who made him US ambassador. They reveal deep frustrations over the government's growth agenda and attempts at welfare reform, giving opposition parties plenty of ammunition against Starmer. It's another hammer blow for the Starmer premiership, already nearly knocked out. The Prime Minister out last week with one of the few cabinet ministers still fighting for him in public. It's support that right now he badly needs. But the private comments revealed in this tranche of documents must sting. Beth Rigby, Sky News, Westminster.
Well, our deputy political editor, Sam Coates, has been poring over the documents. Here's his analysis.
Let's start with vetting. Here we go. This is a memo from the head of Foreign Office Security, talking about how, essentially, stuff was waved through. He says that Lord Mandelson was starting early because we have some wiggle room in the process, and Lord Mandelson's going to be able to see documents working up to secret. That's a classification of documents on the basis that he's already a Lord. That tells you the vibe, the kind of approach in government that there was to the vetting. So look at other comments by security figures. So a member of the UKSV, Government Security Group, wrote to Peter Mandelson to say, people that you've got personal friendship have basically got to be declared as part of your vetting. We will be looking to focus on those individuals that have current or recent contact with. But this appeared to cause problems. And the official then wrote to another ally of Peter Mandelson to say, and to the peer himself, to say, I suggest that you hand over the handful of names you mentioned, even though you don't consider them close contacts. That'll reassure the vetting team that you've been comprehensive, even though it's quite artificial. That's quite something for a junior official to say, basically admitting that there is a level of artifice in that vetting that was already going very fast, and he was already seeing documents before the vetting was completed. But it all came out here in a very clear statement on the 30th of January 2025 that the Security Department of the Foreign Office approved developed vetting clearance for Lord Mandelson. So that's one element of what happened. But there's another element connected to conflicts of interest and vetting and due diligence that these documents highlight and throw a new light on, which is Peter Mandelson's relationship with individuals and companies that he used to represent when he was a lobbyist before he joined government as ambassador. Now, one of the firms that was represented by his old company, Global Counsel, a lobbying firm, was Palantir. And there's all sorts of clues in the document about the relationship with Palantir that Peter Mandelson kept after the point where he became ambassador. Look at this. On the 17th of February 2025, he writes to Peter Thiel's assistant. Peter Thiel is one of the founders of Palantir, to ask whether he could meet him in Miami. Now, look at this. This is later, in March 2025, and it's an email from an investor in Palantir inviting Lord Mandelson to dinner and to a forum and saying he's coming with Louis. That's Louis Mosley. You can see him up there. Louis Mosley is the UK head of Palantir. And then look at this. In July 2024, he tries to get the Prime Minister to meet Peter Thiel, founder of Palantir, writing to Morgan McSweeney saying that the celebrated techie is in London until the 9th. So would the PM like to meet him? So it does seem, and there were questions in the Commons about this, that there are questions to be asked about what safeguards the government put in place around Peter Mandelson to protect their interests.
Well, our chief political correspondent, John Craig, joins us in the studio. Some embarrassing elements that have come out, but what have we seriously learned from what we've seen today?
There's no absolute bombshell here that makes everybody go, wow! But it is embarrassing, but we were expecting it to be embarrassing, actually. I mean, for me, that letter, handwritten note, if you appoint me, I won't lay you down. You won't regret it. Oh, yeah. And then poor old Pat McFadden comes out of it quite badly because some of his candid comments about welfare and so on. But the overriding impression, really, is that it makes the Prime Minister looks weak, vacillating, dithering, indecisive. I mean, look at this. I mean, honestly.
Careful with the set.
I mean, there's so much of it. What's going to happen now is that the Leader of the Commons, Sir Alan Campbell, announced that there's going to have a full day's debate on Wednesday. So that gives MPs plenty of time, should they wish, to plough through this lot. This evening, Darren Jones, after answering MPs' questions in the Commons, was a surprise appearance at the Parliamentary Labour Party. We'd been told it was going to be Steve Reid, and then an MP told me not long before 6 o'clock that, in fact, Darren Jones was going there. He did his usual calm, tried to be reassuring, calm, steady MPs' nerves and so on. He told me he only got 2 questions. It's probably because the chairman wanted to move on to Steve Reid, who was also addressing them. But it was a pretty full turnout. I counted Shabana Mahmood, John Healey, Pat McFadden, David Lammy, Bridget Phillipson, Jenny Chapman, Heidi Alexander, Emma Reynolds and Hilary Benn, all there. Pretty good turnout from the Cabinet. But whilst the government's trying to ride out this storm, there is deep disquiet. I was talking to a grandee now in the Lords who said the problem is they're just digging in for the wrong reasons. They're hoping, obviously, that to ride out this storm, but it's not going to happen. We saw a very combative Alex Burkhart there. I mean, I know I keep calling him Kemi Badenoch's attack dog, but I think he's a pretty effective attack dog, and he's good on this. I mean, you can argue that this is his triumph, all this, because he was the one who moved the humble address motion back in February, and it's down to him, really, and his tactics that the government, it's come to this, and the government's facing all this dreadful embarrassment. And one other thing that was suggested to me by some MPs is that the Intelligence and Security Committee needs stronger powers because they've been bullied a bit by the spooks, by the Cabinet Office and the Foreign Office, the diplomats at the Foreign Office as well. So there's going to be a lot's going to come out of this, but as Beth was saying in her report, it's terrible for the Prime Minister. You
mentioned some big beasts at this Parliamentary Labour Party meeting tonight. Does that suggest to you, Sarah, that they are panicked?
Well, I mean, I think they are all panicking all of the time, but not just over this, over so many other things. I mean, they've just had a terrible run of it, haven't they? And this is just a sort of cherry on the terrible cake. And it's embarrassing, and it makes them all look like they're all fighting each other, and there's no cohesive strategy, and they're all at each other's throats. And it just confirms, I think it confirms what a lot of people think about politics, that it is just a bunch of egomaniacs all fighting for one prize with no regard for the general, well-being of the country or for, what the voters actually want. It's just all about their little Westminster bubble and who's up, who's down, and who's managing to stab whoever in the back. And I just think it feels such a sort of bunch of cliché. This could be a script for the thick of it. Right?
Well, somebody said that in one of the emails, didn't they?
Or
Mandelson himself, over trying to get a red box for Trump. But I think many Labour MPs and ministers are just fed up and frustrated. The Prime Minister made a dreadful decision. He didn't particularly know Mandelson. We're not seeing any replies from him to Mandelson. He subcontracted the decision to Morgan McSweeney. He's gone along with it.
And the vetting.
Yeah, and it's backfired spectacularly. He appointed to Washington, a more senior diplomatic job, somebody who had no respect for him, the Prime Minister, somebody who is known as let's be honest, a snake in the grass. And he's turned and bitten and spat at everybody, whether they supported him or were just in positions. It's always Mandelson. It's me first, country second, party third.
They fired a perfectly nice woman to make way for him as well.
Yeah, Karen Pierce.
It was a bit of a sort of...
Well, in the letter that David Lammy wrote to Emily Thornberry today, he said that they'd intended for her to do another term. That was his recommendation. He even recommended the ex-Chancellor.
The PM also fired Ollie Robbins, who I think comes out of this pretty well, actually. It's pretty sound advice that was clearly ignored.
Well, that story features on the front of the Eye with the headline, Mandelson files reveal how the PM's authority crumbled. We'll have a full rundown of what's in the rest of the newspapers at 1:30. Now, President Trump says Israel and Hezbollah have agreed to step back from renewed fighting. His intervention came after Iran warned that the ramping up of violence in Lebanon was threatening to end Iran's ceasefire with the United States. Our Middle East correspondent, Adam Parsons, has more.
In Lebanon, the destruction has continued. Israel's military pushing ever further into the country, occupying more territory, launching further attacks. In the town of Tyre, this hospital shaken and damaged. Israeli strikes are moving up the country. The Israelis' target is Hezbollah, the Iranian-backed group that has been launching rockets and drones into northern Israel relentlessly for the past 3 months.
We continue to deepen our activity on the ground in southern Lebanon, eliminating Hezbollah strongholds. Hezbollah is on the run. We are determined to restore security to the residents of the north, just as we did to the residents of the south.
And then the Israeli Prime Minister threatening further attacks, this time saying his country would target the Beirut suburb of Dahia, a very well-known stronghold of Hezbollah. A threat that provoked reactions, first on the streets, people fleeing, and then on social media. This, a message from Donald Trump declaring that Israeli troops would turn back from Beirut and unilaterally announcing a ceasefire between Hezbollah and Israel. And yet around an hour later, Israel's own defense minister declared his country was not in ceasefire, just as news came through of another Israeli soldier being killed in southern Lebanon. It is barely a day since the Israelis were celebrating the capture of Beaufort Castle, a strategically and symbolically important location. But in Lebanon, both conflict and politics are moving at speed. This is a desperately volatile situation. There may be a road to peace, there may be a road back to war, but there are many other paths in between. Adam Parsons, Sky News, Jerusalem.
So, not for the first time, we're getting mixed messages from Donald Trump. Originally said that he couldn't care less that Iran was halting the peace talks because of renewed strikes on Lebanon. And then, not very long afterwards, said that peace talks were going ahead.
He's under enormous pressure to get the Strait of Hormuz reopened because his poll ratings in the States have gone through the floors. The cost of living affordability, as they call it, has absolutely soared. But you don't know if he knows what he's saying and the truth and the situation because he's so confused and contradictory. But what we do know is the US has huge leverage over Netanyahu and Israel because it's essentially the armourer. But Netanyahu himself has his own objectives. He's got a court case he's trying to push away, and he's got elections coming up. He wants to push on into Lebanon. Trump is now saying, well, pull back because Iran that we'd defeated, we're going to get unconditional surrender from, he now knows are linking the Strait of Hormuz to Lebanon. I mean, it's incredibly chaotic. People are dying on all sides, and Trump is not in control.
But he's saying that after a call with Netanyahu, he's agreed not to go further into Beirut.
Yes, I mean, Trump always tries to cast himself as the sort of big deal maker. So everything he does, you have to remember that that's the framing. That's what he wants people to think. So I think often he sort of creates unstable situations in a way so that then he can go in and say, I've fixed it all. I mean, in that respect, he's terribly irresponsible, I think, and someone in that position to be doing that, because it's all about him promoting his brilliance the whole time. And Netanyahu is in a difficult situation. He's been widely criticised. Even really people who support Israel think that his approach has been far too extreme. That whole... But it's just... It just feels like it's a sort of never-ending cycle of violence, push, pull. It's... No one... There's no grown up in the room. There's no one with a real desire to stop it. But meanwhile, people are just dying. It's just
But
horrific.
do you get the sense, Kevin, that Netanyahu does actually listen to Trump, because he's insisting today that there will be no further incursions into Beirut?
But were they going to Beirut? They'd be pushing up through southern Lebanon. Were they ever going to repeat what they did in the 1980s and go all the way to Beirut? And with troops, or that doesn't rule out airstrikes, because Trump spoke about troops, but you don't know if Trump is speaking accurately or he's just making it up as he goes along. I mean, that is the huge problem here. There's more than 3,000 people died in Lebanon. Israel is losing about a soldier a day. Iran is emboldened rather than weakened.
I mean, I think there's a sense that, Trump is Netanyahu's useful idiot sometimes, in this whole scenario.
OK, let's move on to domestic story. And a man who murdered a student before falsely accusing his victim of racial abuse has been jailed for life. Vikram Digwa stabbed Henry Novak with a Sikh ceremonial knife in Southampton in December. Mr Novak was then handcuffed by police as he lay dying at the scene after Digwa had lied to officers about what happened. A warning that this report from Emma Birchley does contain footage of the moment Mr Novak was detained, which you may find distressing.
A first-year student on his way for a night out who would never make it home. 18-year-old Henry Novak was stabbed repeatedly on the streets of Southampton by this man, Vikram Digwa. Henry's family was in court as he was sent to prison for a minimum of 21 years.
For us, there is no closure. There is no moment where the pain stops. There is no moment where the Henry-shaped hole in our family is filled. We will carry this grief every single day for the rest of our lives.
In a 999 call lasting nearly 12 minutes, Digwa and his brother claimed that he was the one who'd been attacked that night, telling the operator he'd been racially abused.
He starts recording me. Right. As he's recording me, I snatched his phone. He's then laid a punch onto me. He's pushed me back and my turban's come off. He started then grabbing my head, so I then grabbed him and then he started pushing me, attacking me even further and everything like that.
Digwa had stabbed Henry multiple times, but when officers arrived, it was Henry that they handcuffed.
What's happened to you, all right? All right, mate. Been stabbed. You've been stabbed? Whereabouts? Don't think you have, mate.
It was all captured on police body cam and the footage released with the family's consent.
And?
Most of it is too distressing to show.
With his final words, he told officers that he could not breathe. He told them he had been stabbed. In fact, Henry told officers that he could not breathe 9 times. He told them he had been stabbed 4 times. Henry should not have died on the streets of Southampton in police custody. The way he was treated was inhumane and degrading.
Henry, seen here earlier in the evening, was eventually uncuffed, but it was too late, a wound to his chest proving to be the fatal blow. It was delivered not by the ceremonial kirpan knife Digwa carried as a Sikh, but a second 21-centimetre blade. The police have apologised to the family, but highlighted the difficult circumstances faced by officers that night in December.
Only one person is responsible for killing Henry, and that's the man who stabbed him that night. That man lied to officers on the scene, and I have no doubt that that contributed to their not immediately understanding what had taken place.
The Independent Office for Police Conduct is investigating, something that Prime Minister Keir Starmer says he supports. Sentencing Digwa Judge Bill Mosley, KC, said he was sure Henry has said nothing racist, and that when police arrived, the 23-year-old had carried on telling wicked lies to police. For Henry's family, the earth-shattering moment of being told he'd died will never leave them. A young man they described as kind, loved and full of promise. Emma Birchley, Sky News.
Well, tonight the Prime Minister has released a statement about the case. He said this is an awful, shocking case. Henry's loved ones have gone through the trauma of a long trial and endured Henry's killer making up appalling claims about their son, who was thoughtful, kind and deeply loved. It is right that the IOPC is investigating the police's response to his senseless murder. I mean, it's actually very distressing case, isn't it? And so awful for the family to hear the detail that in his last moments he was literally begging for help and saying that he'd been stabbed, and the police initially ignored it based on wrong information, but initially ignored those calls.
Nobody should suffer that. You should be consoled, comforted, treated, attempted. And the dignity of Henry's family is incredible. Contrast that to the murderer's family. The man will be sentenced on trying to help her son, removing the knife and trying to cover up and give him a story. But it raises a lot of issues, and you can see it is confusing for the police when they take a call and they go, but they've got this badly wrong handcuffing him. And the knife that killed him wasn't a ceremonial weapon that Sikhs are allowed to carry. That'll have to be reviewed in law to see whether there's any link to crime and the carrying of those weapons. I'm not aware of it, because this murderer is just being cold-blooded, totally heartless. And I kind of feel, though, as a parent, just a citizen, that's a minimum of 21 years is not enough, given the nature of the offence. I mean, I'm not quite sure what life is. Should it be until your dying days?
Should it mean life?
Yeah, or should it be longer? Because he's pleaded not guilty. He's made up all these horrific allegations, and there's the degree of calculation, cynicism, and just true awfulness in this.
And what are your views on the role of the police? I mean, subsequently acknowledging that they made a mistake and they have apologised, and there will be an IOPC investigation. Is there more that they could have done or can do now?
I mean, there's that terrible clip where he says, "I've been stabbed," and the bloke says, "I don't think you have, mate." And it's just, you think, the assumption was that he was lying. The assumption was that they believed what the other guy was saying. And I mean, the difficulty for the police is that in the past they've been in trouble for, racial bias and social, racial profiling and things like that. So they're trying to navigate that minefield as well. But the fact of the matter is this man left the house with a proper knife. Not just his ceremonial knife, but a knife. If you leave the house with a knife, you're not going to do good things, are you? I mean, there's an intent there. You're the sort of person who is looking for trouble, and the fact that his family were so protective of him, and the fact that his mother protected him, that speaks of an attitude and a sort of a situation in the family where there's clearly no boundaries or anything like that. So this is just a bad bunch of people.
Henry's dad actually praised the police investigation and the CPS for bringing the prosecution and the successful murder convictions. I mean, they are just a remarkable family on how they're coping with it after their son was handcuffed. But it raises a lot of issues. But you can understand the confusion of the police. I think if somebody had said they were had been a victim of a homophobic attack,
or if it just been
a
fight,
woman, or somebody, but if somebody is on the ground and saying, "Look, I can't breathe, I've been stabbed," they've got to be taken seriously for that and not dismissed.
The police say after a few minutes he was taken seriously, but yes, they were fed the wrong information and reacted to that. We're going to move on. Coming up, we'll take a first look at what's making the front pages of tomorrow's newspapers. Do stay with us if you can.
I urge you not to look away. If Hamas hands the hostages over, they will end this conflict. The world has been watching. Good to see you again. How are you? Did she say how he was?
The conditions are awful.
The jets were ordered to come back. Historic day here today. How will you respond if India does launch airstrikes?
They'll be all out to war.
I'm just going to put some body armor on. I'm Yalda Hakim.
Time now to see what's making the front pages of tomorrow's newspapers, and the Mandelson files are on many of them. The Metro reports that the documents reveal how Lord Mandelson made his case to the then Foreign Secretary David Lammy for the US ambassador role on what the paper calls a day of severe embarrassment for Keir Starmer. While preparing to take up the UK's most high-profile diplomatic posting, The Guardian reports that Mandelson received security briefings and was in contact with the head of MI6 before full vetting was complete. The Eye claims the files reveal how the Prime Minister's authority crumbled, with some of Starmer's key allies said to have quickly lost faith in his ability to lead government. The Daily Telegraph highlights messages from Pat McFadden revealed in the documents where he complains about Labour backbenchers focusing too much on who we can tax to fund welfare. The Daily Express leads on those messages, describing them as an extraordinary confession about Labour MPs' welfare demands. It's the same story in The Sun, which brands Labour the welfare party. The Mirror reports that the files reveal Mandelson's extraordinary treachery and further undermines Keir Starmer's position as Prime Minister. The Daily Mail reports that the files expose the toxic infighting at the heart of Labour. The Financial Times leads with the US tech firm Anthropic filing for a potential $1 trillion plus IPO, sparking a three-way race with OpenAI and SpaceX and testing Wall Street's appetite for AI giants. The Daily Star says England manager Kevin Keegan is delighted his cancer doctor is a Liverpool fan, joking he's in good hands. Well, let's start with the front page of the Eye. Mandelson files reveal PM's authority crumbled. Is that really what's come out of this latest tranche of files on the Mandelson affair?
Yeah, I think so, because he appointed him, he's turned on him, and ministers didn't seem to be rushing to the Prime Minister's support, it's got to be said, including Morgan McSweeney, he's then Chief of Staff. I always like the way the Eye do it with their bullet points, and they've got Pat Coburn, a columnist I enjoy reading, saying that the files lay bare number 10's naivety, and I think it was. I mean, Ed Miliband, when he was asked as a Labour leader whether he'd bring back Peter Mandelson, he said he believed in dignity and retirement, and Peter Mandelson should remain retired. But that wasn't the case for Keir Starmer, who subcontracted to Morgan McSweeney, and it's bitten him really hard. And I think it kind of keeps leading to the Prime Minister. I think there's no way back to him. I just think Andy Burnham will be saying in the by-election, I know other parties are standing, but we'll be saying in a by-election, look, this is why we have to change.
Yeah. And embarrassing for Sir Keir Starmer in that, you know, Lord Mandelson's been very scathing about him.
Absolutely, absolutely. But I think it's interesting that every single paper is leading on this. I mean, this is clearly the biggest story. I mean, there are other really big stories around tonight, but this is, and I think that is indicative of the, as Kevin says, of the severity of it for Starmer. I think there is just simply no way he can survive now. And it's just a question of when and who.
Rather than if.
Yes, definitely. And you know, I think in a funny kind of a way, you know, it weakens. I mean, Burnham's rivals are now weakened by this because they're embroiled in it. Pat McFadden, I think, is actually quite a good minister. You know, his reputation. Yeah. Whereas Burnham is a clean skin. You know, he's been off in the north doing Manchester, so he's not involved in any of this. So this will bolster his chances, I think, quite significantly.
The McFadden comment that Labour MPs keep saying, how can we tax to raise benefits, is very damaging because Labour's trying to make work pay, which is why the minimum wage has gone up by more than inflation and why new employment rights come in sickness from day one. And and so on.
Yeah.
But the attack from the Conservatives and Reform is constantly being Labour is the party taxing workers to pay for people on benefits, ignoring the biggest part of the welfare bill is pensions and universal credit. Almost half the people who get it are in work. It's just they're in low-paid jobs. But the message has been damaging Labour, and now it's
an attack point for Kemi Baker, who's pounced on it today as well.
Totally. But what this will mean is that someone like Pat McFadden, if Burnham gets in, will be out. You know, so a lot of the sort of more moderate, you could argue more centrist Labour politicians will be out of a job completely, because this will just reinforce that sense that, you know, they're all in that sort of...
All eyes on the by-election, which you kindly mentioned. So we have to mention all...
I'm sorry, as I was doing, I realised.
The Make a Bill by-election, there are 14 candidates in all.
Sorry.
And they're on the screen for you now.
Not guilty.
Polls.
Just a headline that kind of rubbed salt into the wound for Keir Starmer and the Labour administration at the time of the hiring of Lord Mandelson. Hire me, you will not regret it.
Yeah, the handwritten...
Famous last words.
Handwritten note by Peter Mandelson to the then Foreign Secretary, David Lammy. I mean, it's going to be one of those quotes that's going to go down in history now, because all they are doing is regretting it. And actually, I suspect Mandelson may be regretting he got the job himself, because, of course, criminal charges under investigation. I know he denies all wrongdoing. Just to stop you having to say that. But nevertheless, it's turned out awful for Mandelson too.
Yeah.
Let's move on to the Telegraph and this story from an M&S boss, Marks & Spencer boss. Britain rarely so anti-growth. That's Archie Norman there. Tiny story. Story in
former Conservative MP, it's got to say, so there's some politics in this. He probably missed the growth figures of 0.6 for the 3 quarters, for the 3 months, the first quarter of the year, which are the highest in the big European economies. But nevertheless, he'll be pushing now. It's against any regulation, whether it's on packaging or anything at all. That is it. They can sense the government is weak, and so therefore every special interest group, whether you're an airline or whether you're a trade union or the boss of M&S and retail, you attack the government.
We did have this report on NEETs, not in employment, young people not in employment or training, last week from Alan. Was it last week? Yes. From Alan Milburn, saying that and this sort of narrative about the fact that young people are finding it so hard to find work because the Labour government have imposed such a burden of taxation on employers. So that will all feed into this. It's all part of the same argument, really. And I don't think it's unfair to say that there is quite a significant burden on employers at the moment.
High taxes, excessive red tape, smothering business, and hollowing out town settings. Is that his quote?
I think Amazon are hollowing out town settings, actually.
To the front of the the UK won't have to pay Rwanda over £100 million. This is for cancelling the asylum scheme. Good news.
Yeah, so it's just the 700 million that was spent on nobody being forcibly deported, just 4 volunteers fancying to go to Rwanda. But in a way,
100 million, but spent 700.
Because they won it, it's hardly reported at all if you go through the papers. If they'd have lost it, it was another 100 million. It would be big news. It's kind of bad news is good news, and good news is no news. But yes, the UK government won its case in the Hague, and actually boat crossings are down by a third, and net migration is down by 4/5 now.
Yeah, no record numbers. Let's move on to the Times, if you don't mind, Sarah, to this story about a cancer pill that shrinks tumours. Potentially very, very good news.
Yeah, I mean, amazing. I mean, I'm not a doctor. I don't really understand how these things work. But, I mean, anything to do with that is... Any advance in that direction is always a good thing. I mean, we get these things periodically, don't we? Pill that helps Alzheimer's. Sometimes these things don't necessarily translate into workable solutions. But, you know, let's hope. And it might not be all cancers, it might just be some.
Yes,
I don't know the details, I actually haven't got it in my...
Well, the scientists saying that the pill caused tumours to shrink by at least 30% for 6 types.
And that, of course, makes
cancer.
them more operable sometimes. So sometimes the tumours, they need to get smaller before they can operate to remove them. So that could, you know, really help some people.
Yeah, and certainly patients that have run out of other forms of treatment.
Yeah, of course, screening is quite important for cancer. And there was an announcement this week that they're not going to go ahead with the prostate screening, which I think was a really big mistake, actually.
Yeah,
I don't really understand that decision.
Seems
like a no-brainer.
The expert screeners said no, because you'll get a lot of false positives, and then people could end up with no sex life or having bladder control, so they'd be treated unnecessarily. Okay. I mean, I still can't quite get my head around it too. I just think screening just strikes me as a
I mean,
a good thing.
Yeah, but there are
breast screening
is
really effective.
Just got time for the Daily Star front page. Kevin Keegan, and he's injecting a sense of humour. What could be a very dark time for him, but
yes, because he has stage 4 cancer, and there is no stage 5, as we know. But he was I think it was in Newcastle, he's joking, he doesn't want a statue put up while he's alive, and talking about how his doctor is a Liverpool fan. Of course, he was a star of Liverpool and Newcastle United, which he also managed. But no, he seemed to be taking a very positive approach to life, which is very commendable.
No, absolutely. The headline, I knew I wouldn't be walking alone. We wish him well. Let's take a look at a particular story that we've been covering, and that's Cuba. Because after the US capture of Venezuela's leader back in January, all the way back then, the Trump administration has made no secret that Cuba could be next. US sanctions, including an oil blockade, have already created a crisis in Cuba, and the country's once celebrated health service is now at risk of collapse. Our chief correspondent, Stuart Ramsey, has gone undercover to see the extent of the problem and the impact it's having on patients.
The Arnaldo Milan Castro General Hospital in Santa Clara, a major facility struggling to function. The cover of darkness assists our arrival. At the accident and emergency entrance, an ambulance delivers a new patient to the cavernous interior of the building, while another receives a patient to transport elsewhere. What is really striking is how the hospital has to prioritise power for certain sections and certain wards. Much of the hospital is in total darkness. Corridors are eerily quiet in departments that appear to be mothballed to save power. Along one corridor, alongside the critical care unit, a man wheels a hospital gurney towards a ward. It's piled high with food and supplies. His elderly relative follows behind in a wheelchair. In every ward, families keep their loved ones company. It seems that there's always a member of the family on duty into the night, making sure the patient has what they need. The medical staff will help for sure in an emergency, but the family's there to make sure the patient is comfortable. In the gloom, we see a man sleeping rough outside. Next to him, hanging on a fence, his freshly washed white shirts. He's a hospital worker, we're told, who can't afford to travel to and from home, so he sleeps here until his next shift begins. It's a metaphor, perhaps, for a broken system, but a staff who won't give up, or perhaps don't know the system is broken.
And you can scan the QR code on the screen now to watch Stuart's full report. The question now is, what are America's intentions for Cuba? There's speculation, as we've heard from Stuart there, that those on the island believe that there could possibly be an invasion, some sort of military invention, something similar to what we've seen in Venezuela.
A kidnapping or a military invasion, tightening a blockade that's been really in force for three-quarters of a century. America it all seems to be offended by Cuba, which has infant mortality, literacy, life expectancy rates Americans can only dream of. I'm not blind to the feelings on the island and the system and lack of free speech, political organisation and so on. But in many ways, it's stuck two fingers up with a different model of the US. And watch it's a very admired health service now on its knees is very painful. But you just hope that what the US is doing is illegal internationally, but Trump does not seem to care. Marco Rubio, the Secretary of State, does not seem to care.
Well, they want regime change. That's what's been said.
What do the American people want? Are they in favour of this, do you think? I don't know. I mean, I don't really... it seems I don't understand Trump's priorities here. I just don't understand them. He's got huge problems at home. He's got all sorts of things that he needs to sort out. Why is he doing this? And when you see the human effect of those sort of high-up political decisions that happen in, great big rooms with very expensive curtains, you just think, guys, this is not... It's not OK. You've got people dying in the dark. You've got hospital workers. Why? For what? Why are you ruining these people's lives?
And he did come in on the non-interventionist ticket.
Well, yes.
He did,
but he's gone completely
his whole
on
thing
that
is,
with
I don't start
Iran.
wars, I don't do this kind of stuff, I'm just a deal maker. Well, come on then, let's see, why are you doing this? People have obviously got to him.
He's a crazed megalomaniac.
I don't know.
You might think that.
I think I could
possibly
sue. I'd love him to sue. I mean, a crowdfunding would be brilliant.
Just Kevin.
I know, yeah.
Coming up, Serena Williams confirms her return to competitive tennis. Stay with us.
Hello, it's 7 o'clock. This is the Kathy Newman Show. How long's the 5 million going to last, Mr. Farage? Let's find out. Diane, who would you put in there?
It's not for me to say. I want to see.
Not
you just
yourself,
accused
not
them.
you. Do you ever look at yourself and think, are you the problem?
I do feel sorry for him, yeah.
We'll see what happens. Does it mean, frankly, that you are an irrelevant? Great to have this lovely couple on the sofa.
I know, what a dream team they are.
She's christened the couch.
Mayhem in the Middle East, rippling in America's West.
Get back! Get back!
The resolve of these protesters is now being seriously tested. I saw police being forced or pushing young men and women to the ground as they made almost 100 arrests.
None of this is a peaceful protest.
I'm Martha Kellner and I'm Sky's US correspondent based here in Los Angeles. How are you feeling?
I am angry.
It is an anti-woman agenda. Will the cold affect your voters?
Well, we have a lot of tremendous support, but it's nasty out there.
Anybody else?
Should the Defence Secretary and the Vice...
Wait, what country are you
from? The UK.
Okay, we don't give a crap about your opinion and your reporting. Why don't you go back to your country where you have a major migrant problem?
President Biden, do you trust President Xi? President Biden says that this meeting went well. He said real progress was made on a whole host of issues. Will your candidates win?
I hope so. I think they will. I think they're great candidates.
There's no doubt that Kamala Harris and her team are harnessing the power of social media. Do you think Kamala is brat?
Kamala's brat.
Are you scared?
Yeah, we were scared. It was terrible. Strong wind, building tearing down.
As them say, God works, so we can't do nothing.
The people here know that worse storms may well be on their way. Sky News, get the full story first. Free wherever you get your news. Ghislaine Maxwell has pleaded not guilty to all 6 charges against her. Mum, how are you feeling today?
Jeffrey said, you answer to Ghislaine, you just don't cross her.
The best thing about being a Sky News journalist... Hi, darling.
Beth Rigby, Sky News.
Is being a Sky News journalist. You said to people, I'm not coming back for more, but you have come back for more.
Well, let's kick off.
And make a statement. What can our Prime Minister say to you to not impose tariffs?
He's coming out! What more do you need?
We're trying to see as much as we can.
We're in an area that's just been reclaimed. Mr. Zuma, Sky News.
People are directly protesting.
The whole neighbourhood has rallied around her. It's been impenetrable to journalists over the last 2 years of war in Sudan. I've been waiting for this for 2 years. It doesn't feel like a big homecoming. It was never going to be pretty. War isn't pretty.
Now, if you've been on social media today, you might have seen this.
I gotta change my number.
She's coming back.
She is.
Can you believe it?
She is. I mean, she's 44. Tennis players age in dog years, which actually means in real terms she's about 903. But I think I know why she's coming back. She's got a toddler. She's got a two-year-old.
Escaping the terrible
She's like, right, OK, I can't do this. I'd rather just play tennis at international level than... We've all been there. Oh, it's okay.
Fascinating to watch whether she can do it and defy age.
And also, she's been on the pen, hasn't she?
Yes.
So
semaglutide
Ozempic.
She lost 30 pounds.
Yeah. So has she lost muscle? Because you can lose muscle on that stuff, can't you? That's one of the problems with it, apparently.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see how she returns physically.
Whether
the power is still there. Yeah.
I want it to be either a brilliant success again or feel terribly. You're kind of, just the story is better that way, isn't it?
No, we just want
rather than
it to
just
be a
being
brilliant
middling.
Success.
Yeah, I'd love success.
But she's a wild card entry, and it's going to be doubles.
Okay.
On the 8th of June at Queen's Club in West London.
OK, well, that'll be fun. That'll definitely be fun. I mean, she's a great tennis player. She's good to watch. She's fun. She's sort of old school.
23-time Grand Slam winner.
Yeah.
Queens don't have a problem selling tickets, but she will be box office. Absolutely,
That's a point. I'll get on to Sky Sports. Yes. In the break. We'd like to see that. Let's take a look at the weather for you now.
You're looking happy.
Well, the forecast looks good.
So you've sorted the travel insurance then?
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors Sky News weather.
Well, we're in a cooler, more unsettled spell with widespread, sometimes heavy showers and more prolonged rain at times. Most parts will have sunny spells and a scattering of blustery and locally heavy showers to start the day. But southeastern Scotland can expect some more persistent rain. The morning will bring further showers to most parts, some heavy with a risk of hail and thunder, while eastern Scotland will be rather grey with prolonged rain spreading north. Expect temperatures little lower than yesterday's and a stiff and rather chilly wind in the south. Southeastern Scotland will brighten during the afternoon, but there'll be little change elsewhere, although Wales and Western England will see the showers there becoming more isolated later. Much of southern Britain will start fine tomorrow, but northern parts will be showery, while Ireland and the southwest will be mostly overcast and wet. Rain there will spread to most parts by midday and to northern Scotland later, with blustery, locally heavy and thundery showers following.
All Clear Travel Insurance proudly sponsors Sky News weather.
Coming up, newly released Mandelson files reveal the former US ambassador's opinion of Sir Keir Starmer.
What's the best thing about being a Sky News presenter?
Perfect.
Let's bring you some breaking news. Being a Sky News presenter.
I began by asking,
Thank you so much.
trusting us to tell her story. The battle for number 10. Sky News has been given exclusive access. Let me give you a sneak peek. It was the day those present would never forget. Why did you decide to open up and tell your story?
I urge you not to look away. If Hamas hands the hostages over, they will end this conflict. The world has been watching. Good to see you again. How are you? Did she say how he was?
The conditions are awful.
The jets were ordered to come back.
Historic day here today. How will you respond if India does launch airstrikes?
They'll be all out to war.
I'm just going to put some body armor on. I'm Yalda Hakim.
Tonight on The Wrap, more files relating to the appointment of Peter Mandelson reveal how he accused the Prime Minister of lacking verve and described the operation inside Number 10 as beleaguered and bereft. President Trump says Israel and Hezbollah have agreed to dial down fighting in Lebanon after Iran warned that its ceasefire with the US was being threatened by escalating violence there. A killer who murdered a student before lying about being a victim of a racist attack is jailed for life. Plus, Serena Williams confirms her return to competitive tennis in the UK later this month. We discuss the day's biggest stories with the Daily Mail's Sarah Vine and the Daily Mirror's Kevin Maguire. Plus, the first look at the front pages of tomorrow's newspapers, including coverage of the latest Mandelson files. Good evening and welcome to you both. Now, a bruising assessment of the Prime Minister by Lord Mandelson was laid bare in more files released today by the government. In messages to senior ministers, the peer accused Sir Keir Starmer of lacking verve with a Downing Street operation that was beleaguered and bereft. The documents also show that Lord Mandelson promised ministers that they wouldn't regret hiring him as US ambassador. Sarah and Kevin, famous last words.
Yes, I mean, the worst possible thing he could have ever said. This was to David Lammy when he said this, wasn't it? Yes. So I think David Lammy's probably considering his life choices at the moment.
I think we put that down as a broken promise.
Yeah.
Almost everybody who has had any dealings and appointed Mandelson to anything has had to regret it, and he did have to resign twice from the cabinet.
Well, the files relating to Lord Mandelson's appointment also revealed that he refused to hand over his own phone messages. He was sacked as US ambassador last September, following revelations about his relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. He denies any wrongdoing. Our first report tonight comes from our political editor, Beth Rigby.
Once a towering figure in Labour, now casting a long shadow over Starmer's government. Another blow for not just the PM but his senior team too. Thousands of secret documents released today relating to Lord Mandelson revealed the extent to which this former ambassador strayed very far from his brief, with private misgivings around Starmer and his strategy made public. Key ally Pat McFadden in the firing line as dozens of WhatsApps between the Prime Minister's key cabinet ally and Mandelson were disclosed. Mandelson telling McFadden Keir lacks verve, as does the cabinet as a whole. And number 10 was beleaguered and bereft, while the now Work and Pensions Secretary lamented the lack of welfare reform to Mandelson, saying, "Every meeting I have is, who can we tax in order to pay benefits to others? They're asking the wrong questions." And he didn't hold back on the PM's predicament over failed welfare reforms last year, saying, "It's very bad. Defeat, pull the bill or gut it, destroys his authority, Keir's authority." Soon after the documents dropped, the Chief Secretary to the PM, Darren Jones, was dispatched to the Commons.
The documents we are publishing today are one of the largest government publications ever laid before this House. This disclosure process has been wide-ranging, costing the Cabinet Office alone over £1 million. With the exception of the small number of documents that are withheld at the request of the police, which we intend to publish when the police are content for us to do so, the government now considers that it has duly discharged the duties set out in the humble address.
The government unable to publish evidence that Keir Starmer claims will prove he was misled. But ministers were quick to highlight this handwritten note from Mandelson to the then Foreign Secretary David Lammy, saying, "If you are minded to appoint me, I would make sure you never regret it." That a promise far from kept. Regret not just for the PM, but his MPs too.
The challenge for all of our constituents is that every time this subject comes up, they cannot shake the sense that Peter Mandelson's business interests hang like a grubby layer across decision-making in this government, and the concern that his behaviour was a symptom rather than the cause of the problem that we face.
The opposition accused the government of a cover-up as information considered prejudicial to UK national security or international relations was redacted.
We know that there is no good legal basis for the government not to disclose to this House which documents are being withheld. The government should tell us. This is obfuscation. It is an unnecessary attempt to defer scrutiny or deny it.
The Mandelson files bring yet another dark day, not just to the Prime Minister, but his wider government too, as this massive dump of documents revealed Mandelson's influence across the Prime Minister's top team and his clear frustration at the man who made him US ambassador. They reveal deep frustrations over the government's growth agenda and attempts at welfare reform, giving opposition parties plenty of ammunition against Starmer. It's another hammer blow for the Starmer premiership, already nearly knocked out. The Prime Minister out last week with one of the few cabinet ministers still fighting for him in public. It's support that right now he badly needs. But the private comments revealed in this tranche of documents must sting. Beth Rigby, Sky News, Westminster.
Well, our chief political correspondent John Craig has joined us in the studio. there have been some embarrassing revelations in the documents, but perhaps the more interesting question is what isn't in the documents. We know they're pretty weighty. You've got them all there.
I'm not going to bang it on the table this time.
No.
Look at that. That's just volume 1. There are 3. I mean, they're like heavy phone directories. Do you remember? You're too young to remember phone directories.
No, of course I'm not.
The phone directories didn't cost £1 million.
No, that's right. Darren Jones said it had cost £1 million. Yes, I mean, the Tories, of course, are still crying cover-up, as they have been for months. And yes, indeed, Alex Burghart raised this, talked about unanswered questions. Other Conservatives have been saying the same thing. There has been a process where the Intelligence and Security Committee, chaired by the former Labour Minister Kevan Jones, now known as Lord Beamish, has been fighting, and his committee have been fighting a battle with the spooks, the diplomats and the mandarins in the Cabinet Office over what could be included. Now, Darren Jones said that he'd got a Tory MP, Simon Hoare, who chairs the Constitutional Affairs Committee, to go over it all and make sure everything was OK. Well, he seems to have done that. But, yes, of course there's lots missing, isn't there? I mean, Peter Mandelson refused to hand over certain things. The police, of course, said, oh, you mustn't put such and such various other bits of evidence because that could be prejudicial to the police inquiry. So, yes, there are big gaps. And one of the things that's quite noticeable is the lack of... we don't hear much from the Prime Minister, do we? We hear from Peter Mandelson, we hear from Pat McFadden, but we don't hear much from Keir Starmer. Perhaps his stuff's missing, or perhaps he just didn't bother to reply.
Interesting that you talk about the stuff that's missing, because we've had a couple of phones stolen now, so they can never be retrieved. Yes, as well as Morgan McSweeney previously. But one of the things, well, you might think that, one of the things that's really been quite clear is the scathing opinion that Lord Mandelson had of Sir Keir Starmer, even as he was about to appoint him.
Yeah, talk about biting the hand that feeds you. There we are, the Prime Minister, who doesn't really know him, is subcontracted to Morgan McSweeney. He's then Chief of Staff, the appointment and wanting the vetting just to be gone through, and a big tick to have Mandelson. Anyway, he gets him, and all he gets back is abuse and contempt. I think it's... I always thought the Prime Minister's biggest mistake was winter fuel. I'm now beginning to wonder if it was Mandelson, because there's so many implications, and he's pulled in so many other members of his cabinet. We see what Pat McFadden was saying, Wes Streeting, of course. Mandelson supposedly friendly to
midlife crisis.
But I mean, who'd have thought he'd be a snake like that? I mean, anybody who really knew him and had dealt with him, and I think the Prime Minister has actually hammered nails in his own coffin.
But why do you think he occupies this sort of strange, almost mythical position within the Labour Party?
Because there are certain Prime Ministers who are in awe of him, and there are other Labour Party leaders who wanted absolutely nothing to do with him. John Smith, do you remember when John Smith succeeded? You're too young to remember that as well. So Kinnock, he was Director of Communications under Neil Kinnock in the 80s. When John Smith succeeded Neil Kinnock, he wanted nothing to do with him. Mandelson was completely frozen out. And it was only when Blair became leader he was back. And then Gordon Brown at first was no great friend of Mandelson. Then, of course, he surprised us all in 2008, I think it was, when he brought him. I couldn't believe it. I remember the day I walked into the office and colleagues said, Peter Mandel's come back as Deputy Prime Minister. No, come on.
Not possible.
But extraordinary. And clearly, Keir Starmer, it looks as though Peter Mandelson has, used all his wily skills and dark arts, whatever you like to call it, the Prince of Darkness, they used to call him, to persuade Keir Starmer to appoint him to this job. And, of course, there were claims denied, of course, that he was involved in a cabinet reshuffle. Clearly, and what this lot shows is that Peter Mandelson's attempts to influence government policy went far beyond relations with Donald Trump in America.
I think he kind of always bounces back. He's got no shame, Mandelson, and that gives you, gives you a certain drive. But Tony Blair's been deafening with his silence.
But he's awfully
over Mandelson, yeah. Gordon Brown regrets it, which is why he now wants the police
great
to
network.
investigate.
I mean, one of the things we learned that he said to the Prime Minister, the current Prime Minister, oh, I had dinner with John Major. You should meet him, thoughtful man, all that sort of stuff. And, of course, we now know through the unfortunate incident that he was having dinner with George Osborne. So he wasn't afraid to talk to Tories as well as Labour people.
And George Osborne, someone that David Lammy recommended to be the ambassador in the US instead of Lord Mandelson. But it's quite interesting because he's written a letter to Emily Thornberry, chair of the Foreign Affairs Committee, today. And one of the questions asked was, were you asked for your view either on Lord Mandelson or any other candidates who were suggested for the role? And he says, I discussed a range of candidates prior to the US presidential election as Foreign Secretary. I suggested to Number 10 that David Miliband, Dame Valerie Amos and Dame Cathy Ashton should be included on any shortlist of potential political appointees. That's if there was a Democrat administration, but doesn't actually suggest that he was against Mandelson being appointed in so many words.
I think in recent weeks he's tried to claim that, hasn't he? One or two of the senior politicians in the current government said, oh, I was against it. I think Angela Rayner's another one, isn't she?
Oh, you want to see the evidence, the contemporaneous evidence of that. Because when he was appointed, Kemi Badenoch didn't raise any objections. Nigel Farage, the Reform leader, thought it was a good idea. And the Times newspaper turned on him now, but they had him doing an election podcast. While, of course, we knew his background. We knew about some of the Epstein links, not quite the depth and extent of them. But it's kind of everyone's wise with, hindsight.
Well, actually, just to correct myself on David Lammy, another question, he does say, I did discuss some concerns I had about Peter Mandelson as well as his perceived attributes.
One of the things that comes out of here also is, I remember we were here the night when Ollie Robbins got sacked late at night, and I think Ollie Robbins comes out of here, out of these documents quite well, as someone who was urging caution. One, for example, don't do an interview, and he went ahead and did it anyway. And clearly, a lot of Ollie Robbins' sound advice was ignored. I mean, he'll probably be sitting somewhere tonight with his brandy and cigar saying, told you so.
Schadenfreude, yes.
What lasting damage does this do to Sir Keir Starmer? Is there any more damage that can be done?
I think the writing was on the wall for him, but I just think it's a bit more vivid and the letters are a bit bigger now. It's just very hard to come back from, everything that's happening. Anyway, I won't mention...
Oh, right, yeah.
Otherwise you have to do a lot of other parties. Anyway, I almost did, but I think it's just time. It's a time-limited premiership, and the very fact he hasn't commented today, although he has on the terrible murder in Southampton, it's kind of like he feels like a beaten man. He's going to have to go Prime Minister's questions and
there's an all-day debate on Wednesday on this.
OK, well, we should just point out that Lord Mandelson has denied any wrongdoing, and that story features on the front of the Eye. With the headline, Mandelson files reveal how the PM's authority crumbled. We'll have a full rundown of what's in the rest of the newspapers at hour. Now, President Trump says Israel and Hezbollah have agreed to step back from renewed fighting. His intervention came after Iran warned that the ramping up of violence in Lebanon was threatening to end Iran's ceasefire with the United States. Our Middle East correspondent, Adam Parsons, has more.
In Lebanon, the destruction has continued. Israel's military pushing ever further into the country, occupying more territory, launching further attacks. In the town of Tyre, this hospital shaken and damaged. Israeli strikes are moving up the country. The Israelis' target is Hezbollah, the Iranian-backed group that has been launching rockets and drones into northern Israel relentlessly for the past 3 months.
We continue to deepen our activity on the ground in southern Lebanon, eliminating Hezbollah strongholds. Hezbollah is on the run. We are determined to restore security to the residents of the north, just as we did to the residents of the south.
And then the Israeli Prime Minister threatening further attacks, this time saying his country would target the Beirut suburb of Dahia, a very well-known stronghold of Hezbollah. A threat that provoked reactions, first on the streets, people fleeing, and then on social media. This, a message from Donald Trump declaring that Israeli troops would turn back from Beirut and unilaterally announcing a ceasefire between Hezbollah and Israel. And yet around an hour later, Israel's own defence minister declared his country was not in ceasefire, just as news came through of another Israeli soldier being killed in southern Lebanon. It is barely a day since the Israelis were celebrating the capture of Beaufort Castle, a strategically and symbolically important location. But in Lebanon, both conflict and politics are moving at speed. This is a desperately volatile situation. There may be a road to peace, there may be a road back to war, but there are many other paths in between. Adam Parsons, Sky News, Jerusalem.
We're no further closer to knowing how this all ends, or whether we are in a ceasefire, because they're flagrantly denied in terms of the fighting continues, both with Iran and the US. They've exchanged fire overnight. And Iran saying that unless the situation in Lebanon, if there is no more taking of land and incursion by Israel, our ceasefire doesn't exist with the US.
No, well, the Iran war, Trump and Netanyahu, has gone very badly for Trump, who thought it would be short and sharp and he'd have unconditional surrender, would win, and that hasn't been the case. The regime has been battered, but it's not beaten, and in fact, in some ways, it's more assertive now, which is why the Strait of Hormuz is shut. And then you go to Lebanon, probably the only person who could control Netanyahu would be Trump, because he arms him and effectively license him. But is he in grip of reality, Trump?
Well, he claims he's got Netanyahu to agree not to
send
attack
troops.
Beirut.
Well, was he going to send troops to Beirut anyway? Or was he just going to send missiles and fighter planes and the further incursions? I mean, the problem with Trump is he contradicts himself within days. The deal is almost there, then it's not. And we've just been here for so long. I'm not sure he knows what's going on in his head, never mind in the Middle East.
I think the tragedy of this is that there's no doubt that Hezbollah, Hamas, they're bad, they're terrorists, right? They are bad people, very, very bad people. But the tactics that have been deployed by America and Israel have just backfired on so many different levels. They just don't. They're not.
A bad too.
They've not done this properly. They've messed it up, and actually that's just going to make the situation worse, as you say, because it'll just strengthen Iran's hand within its own sort of, circle of influence, and so you had this. They had an opportunity to actually do some stuff that was good, but they've totally blown it. They've just misunderstood. The politics of this have just been so badly handled, and I think that's the tragedy. Is that they're just going to make this situation, which is very bad. I mean, Israel. What happened on October the 7th was abominable. And, it will happen again. Something similar will, I'm sure, now happen again. They've made that... They've just made the situation materially worse. And, we see repercussions here, with the sort of pro-Palestinian demonstrations and the anger that you see and the anti-Semitism that's now playing out on our streets. And it's all because the people at the top of the people with the responsibility, the people with the power, have just played this so very, very badly.
And when so many people have died, innocents on all sides as well as competence, you also have Trumpflation. And the cost of living, both in the States here and around the world. It's kind of it's how not to do it. That's what it's all about.
Yeah, there has been definitely a global impact. Coming up, A man who murdered a student before falsely accusing his victim of racial abuse is jailed for life.
The best thing about being a Sky News journalist... My darling.
Beth Rigby, Sky News.
...is being a Sky News journalist. You said to people, I'm not coming back for more, but you have come back for more.
Well, let's kick off.
And make a statement. What can our Prime Minister say to you to not impose tariffs?
He's coming out! What more do you need?
We're trying to see as much as we can.
We're in an area that's just been reclaimed.
Mr. Zuma, Sky News.
People are directly protesting.
The whole neighbourhood has rallied around her. It's been impenetrable to journalists over the last 2 years of war in Sudan.
I've been waiting for this for 2 years. It doesn't feel like a big homecoming.
It was never going to be pretty. War isn't pretty.
What's the best thing about being a Sky News presenter?
Perfect.
Let's bring you some breaking news. Being a Sky News presenter.
I began by asking,
Thank you so much.
trusting us to tell her story.
The battle for number 10. Sky News has been given exclusive access.
Let me give you a sneak peek. It was the day those present would never forget. Why did you decide to open up and tell your story?
A man who murdered a student before falsely accusing his victim of racial abuse has been jailed for life. Vikram Digwa stabbed Henry Novak with a Sikh ceremonial knife in Southampton in December. Mr Novak was then handcuffed by police as he lay dying at the scene after Digwa had lied to officers about what happened. A warning, this report from Emma Birchley contains footage of the moment Mr Novak was detained, which you may find distressing.
A first-year student on his way for a night out who would never make it home. 18-year-old Henry Novak was stabbed repeatedly on the streets of Southampton by this man, Vikram Digwa. Henry's family was in court as he was sent to prison for a minimum of 21 years.
For us, there is no closure. There is no moment where the pain stops. There is no moment where the Henry-shaped hole in our family is filled. We will carry this grief every single day for the rest of our lives.
In a 999 call lasting nearly 12 minutes, Digwear and his brother claimed that he was the one who'd been attacked that night, telling the operator he'd been racially abused.
He starts recording me, right? As he's recording me, I snatched his phone. He's then laid a punch onto me. He's pushed me back and my turban's come off. He started then grabbing my head, so I then grabbed him and then he started pushing me, attacking me even further and everything like that.
Digwear had stabbed Henry multiple times, but when officers arrived, it was Henry that they handcuffed.
What's happened to you, all right?
You've been stabbed.
You've been stabbed? Whereabouts? Don't think you have, mate.
It was all captured on police body cam and the footage released with the family's consent.
Hand?
Most of it is too distressing to show.
With his final words, he told officers that he could not breathe. He told them he had been stabbed. In fact, Henry told officers that he could not breathe 9 times. He told them he had been stabbed 4 times. Henry should not have died on the streets of Southampton in police custody. The way he was treated was inhumane and degrading.
Henry, seen here earlier in the evening, was eventually uncuffed, but it was too late, a wound to his chest proving to be the fatal blow. It was delivered not by the ceremonial kirpan knife Digwear carried as a Sikh, but a second 21-centimetre blade. The police have apologised to the family, but highlighted the difficult circumstances faced by officers that night in December.
Only one person is responsible for killing Henry, and that's the man who stabbed him that night. That man lied to officers on the scene, and I have no doubt that that contributed to their not immediately understanding what had taken place.
The Independent Office for Police Conduct is investigating, something that Prime Minister Keir Starmer says he supports. Sentencing Digwear Judge Bill Mosley, KC, said he was sure Henry has said nothing racist, and that when police arrived, the 23-year-old had carried on telling wicked lies to police. For Henry's family, the earth-shattering moment of being told he'd died will never leave them. A young man they described as kind, loved and full of promise. Emma Birchley, Sky News.
And so distressing for the family who will have seen that footage and heard the commentary, as you pointed out, Sarah, with the police officer.
The guy, he says, I've been stabbed, and he goes, I don't think you have, mate. And it's just awful. I mean, you imagine being that person's parent.
Yeah, in his dying moments.
And his dying moments, he's all alone, he's on the floor, he's surrounded by hostile people. This bloke is filling their heads with lies. Must have been just so sad for him.
And the police have apologised, Kevin, because they reacted and responded on false information. And they say when they arrived, it took them a few minutes to properly assess the situation, but they were responding to a call of someone being attacked.
Yeah, there's questions, and it'll be confusing. Why do you handcuff somebody who's on the floor and we could clearly see not moving, or not moving very much because he's been stabbed? And I think Henry's parents are incredible, and the dignity in their statement on the steps of the court, and they also praised the police for subsequently the investigation and the CPS for the successful prosecution. But they want and they're entitled to a full and fearless investigation into how the police got this so horribly wrong initially, and how that can be prevented happening again. But because it's so distressing when you know somebody is dying, and of course they now say he couldn't have been saved because of the severity of the injuries, but you would hope somebody who is dying on the street would be comforted and consoled, and attempts would be made to save them immediately, rather than they're being handcuffed and suffering that terrible indignity in your last moments, your final moments.
Yeah, and we've had comment from the Prime Minister saying it's an awful, shocking case, and Henry's loved ones have gone through the trauma of a long trial and endured Henry's killer, making up appalling claims, and it's got wider attention as well. Elon Musk commented before the sentence. He demanded accountability for the officers, at that point, he questioned if Starmer had even mentioned Novak's name, and he was trying to draw a comparison to the global protest after George Floyd's killing.
Yeah, I mean, I think those sort of comparisons are invidious. I think that, you know, this is, you know, these are two very different cases. It doesn't take away from the pain. It doesn't take away from the mistakes. I don't like that. I don't think it's helpful. But I just because then you sort of politicise it, and you shouldn't really politicise things like this.
Which is what
I don't think.
Which is what Musk is doing.
Yeah.
Look, he's poisonous, but he's also usually ignorant about the facts. But there has to be that inquiry, and there's lots of implications for it.
But Chris Philp also going down that avenue, the Shadow Home Secretary, saying that policing should end its fixation on race and alleged racism in the way it approaches policing.
There is not racism in the police is an issue. Racism in society is an issue. I believe if a gay person or just anybody, a woman, had rang the police and this concocted story, say, I've been attacked, it's terrible, the police would turn up, it's confused, and they take initially the side of the person who's made the call, the 999 call.
Bad people lie. That's what they do. These people are criminals, and this is the perpetrator here left home with a knife. You know, a weapon, which he then used. So, you know, this is a bad person. You know, so he will lie. But the point is the police need to understand the difference between a lie and the reality. And I think in this case, they were probably just not enough.
And the murder weapon wasn't a ceremonial knife that Sikhs can lawfully carry. You've got to remember that too. It was a much
But what you mustn't do is turn it into a reason to stir up even more polarisation, even more hatred. And that's my worry about the Musk thing, because the thing is, it's, you know, this is a tragedy, but, you know, it's no good turning it into a political, you know, football. It doesn't help the situation at all.
Yeah, and he has promised to fund the family if they want to do a private prosecution. But there is going to be an IPC
as he funds Stephen Yaxley, Lennon AK, football hooligan, convicted criminal Tommy Robinson. Yeah.
Let's see what's making the front pages of tomorrow's newspapers now, and the Mandelson files are on many of them. The Metro reports that the documents reveal how Lord Mandelson made his case to the then Foreign Secretary, David Lammy, for the US ambassador role, on what the paper calls a day of severe embarrassment for Keir Starmer. While preparing to take up the UK's most high-profile diplomatic posting, The Guardian reports that Mandelson received security briefings and was in contact with the head of MI6 before full vetting was complete. The Eye claims the files reveal how the Prime Minister's authority crumbled, with some of Starmer's key allies said to have quickly lost faith in his ability to lead. The Daily Telegraph highlights messages from Pat McFadden, revealed in the documents, in which he complains about Labour backbenchers focusing too much on who can we tax to fund welfare. The Daily Express leads on those messages, describing them as an extraordinary confession about Labour MPs' welfare demands. It's the same story in The Sun, which brands Labour the welfare party. The Mirror says the files reveal Mandelson's extraordinary treachery and further undermine Keir Starmer's position as Prime Minister. The Daily Mail reports that the files expose the toxic infighting at the heart of Labour. The Financial Times leads with the US tech firm Anthropic filing for a potential $1 trillion plus IPO, sparking a three-way race with OpenAI and SpaceX, and testing Wall Street's appetite for AI giants. The Daily Star says England manager Kevin Keegan is delighted his cancer doctor is a Liverpool fan, joking he's in good hands. And we'll start with the Telegraph and back to Lord Mandelson and the fallout from the files that have been revealed today. And Pat McFadden, some embarrassing comments, saying that Starmer said, "Who can I tax?"
Yeah, this could be politically damaging in the longer run for Labour. When Pat McFadden says every meeting he has, the Work and Pension Secretary, every meeting he has with Labour MPs, they're asking who can be taxed to pay benefits. The quote isn't quite as it is in the headline. That's paraphrase it. So I think they're a bit naughty for putting that in quotes, actually. because it's not fully accurate, but nevertheless it conveys the impact of it. Now, Labour's made making work pay a big theme, a big central drive. Why the minimum wage has gone up by more than inflation, new employment rights to make you more secure at work. But the attacks from Reform and the Conservatives have always been that you're taxing workers to pay for benefits, which actually is how benefits are paid. They're all paid out of tax. Labour brought in a few cuts, but but the only real big extension, actually, apart from a universal credit rise above inflation for the first time in its history, which it got no credit for, because a lot of that goes to people in work, was, of course, lifting the two-child benefit cap, which is, if you asked, should you take kids out of poverty? Yes, people say, but then should you ask the same people, should you have the two-child benefit cap? Yes, they say. There's a contradiction in there. But that is for Labour's message, that is going to be damaging. And
yes, absolute gift to Kemi Badenoch, isn't it?
Yeah, absolute gift to Kemi Badenoch. I'm also fascinated. The Mirror's got a very good little transcript. It says, this is from Peter Mandelson. I've spoken to Morgan a lot this week, and last night I was direct with him. Keir's not leading from the front, and Morgan is not organising the centre as it needs to be. Gordon has it in for Keir and Rachel big time. He doesn't seriously believe that Angela is an alternative, but she's an instrument of destabilisation. There's the puppeteer. You know, there he is, pulling everybody's strings, you know, and that is not, I don't think, what people want in politics. That's the sort of stuff that makes people cross with politicians.
That's why the Mirror also calls him Sneaky Pete.
When he says Gordon there, does he mean Brown?
Yes.
Yes.
OK, so,
who will do. But, I mean, it's for these reasons, his ability to manipulate, to know which strings to pull, that's how he got the role, because he was deemed to be a Trump whisperer, and he could do things that others perhaps couldn't.
I know. I think, was it set a thief to catch a thief?
Yeah, exactly. I think that was the principle, send a thief to catch a thief. If anyone can deal with this very difficult, you know, mercurial, illogical man, it's going to be this very difficult, mercurial, manipulative man. And so maybe that would have worked. I don't know, but it's, you know, the problem is nobody... I mean, the Epstein thing, it's so interesting that it never crossed anyone's mind that his association with Epstein would be a thing. The sort of disregard for the victims of that sexual scandal.
Yeah.
But then, interestingly, having met him in the Oval Office and commented on his accent and complimented him on his cut-glass English accent, he then said he'd never met him.
Yeah, oh, well, yes, I mean, that always happens. But he's... I mean, they're a gold mine, these emails. We have Mandelson saying, right, there's the Prime Minister going over to meet Trump. He says, we have a whole lot of number 10 Keystone cops coming, including Morgan, falling over themselves and complaining they won't be in the Oval Office. Means none of us will be. It is. He's so dismissive of the people who helped get him the job, Morgan McSweeney. And it's kind of like he just turns on everybody. It's always been his way.
Yeah, I mean, but also the arrogance of the man. He thinks that he's the person who runs everything.
Yeah, the shamelessness, which is always how he's managed to come back.
Yeah.
Well, we're speaking of the Oval Office, and the man who currently inhabits it will take us to the Times World Front, and he's saying that peace talks are boring.
Yeah, he said this in an interview, in an interview with, I think it is CNBC, about Iran, and it's it's kind of like he set up a board of peace. It's really board of peace, B-O-R-E-D rather than the B-O-E-R-D, because he's...
Well, since he didn't get the Nobel Peace Prize, I suppose.
Yeah,
that's when the board
he got the FIFA, the inaugural FIFA World Cup Peace Prize. But it's kind of, this is how you probably won't get peace. And you can start a war, but he won't have people do the serious, hard yards of negotiation. Yeah, they've hollowed out the State Department. He has his son-in-law and real estate mates going around the world, not doing any good at all.
Let's just talk about insulting to people who are suffering because of this war and bored.
Dying or paying the price financially.
Got under a minute to talk about fuel retailers cleared of profiteering from the Iran war. This is Times, page 34, Kevin.
Yeah, it's the Competition Markets Authority, because, of course, prices soared, and they've actually said there's no evidence that retailers altered their pricing strategies, and margins were about the same as in 2025, which is a profit of 11.3% per litre, which is historically high. However, they also said there were a small number of retailers saw their margins increase. So I think it should be no widespread profiteering.
Right. OK.
Price
Well,
gouging.
that's fairly positive news.
No, still...
It's fairly positive news, I agree. Coming up next, we'll take you through the rest of the newspapers. Stay with us.
I urge you not to look away. If Hamas hands the hostages over, they will end this conflict. The world has been watching. Good to see you again. How are you? Did she say how he was?
The conditions are awful.
The jets were ordered to come back. Historic day here today. How will you respond if India does launch airstrikes?
They'll be allowed to war.
I'm just going to put some body armor on. I'm Yalda Hakim.
We're still taking you through the newspapers with Sarah and Kevin. Let's have a look in this section at the Eye, page 11. And this is Khan to back social media ban for under-16s. The Mayor of London, Sir Sadiq Khan, is expected to back a ban on social media for under-16s, saying it is the only way to stem the harms we know are happening right now.
I mean, I don't normally agree with Sadiq Khan, but I think this is a great move. And actually, I was thinking that, if Starmer wants to save something from his soon-to-be-over premiership, I think that helping this get through is a really good thing. I mean, 74% of voters approve of this idea. Parents want it, teachers want it, carers want it. All the people who are involved in safeguarding children think it's a good idea. And there's lots of opposition to it. People say that it's the nanny state, etc., etc. But the power of social media is so intense at the moment, and I think it's responsible for so many of our problems. We see the cases. We saw the case last week of those 3 boys who were convicted of raping 2 girls. They were sharing the video. This guy who killed Novak, he filmed him dying. This is all content which people are, and social media encourages this kind of thing, and it presents a very one-sided view of the world. It's very polarising. It doesn't have any checks and balances, and it's highly addictive. And the social media companies develop these algorithms which hook in a lot of adults, let alone young children.
They're designed to be addictive. But some of the people against a ban, what they're saying is that it won't work. It doesn't work.
Ian Russell, the father of Meghan Russell, who took her life after watching harmful content, makes that point. It's why the government has been considering, through Liz Kendall, the tech secretary, things like timeouts, curfews, alternatives. There's the Australian case where a majority of kids claim, not always telling the truth in these situations, but they claim they still use it. But Sadiq Khan uses a very logical, simple argument that from food to pharmaceuticals, manufacturers have to prove their products are safe. So why don't social media companies have to prove their products are safe when clearly they're not safe for everybody? But
how would you prove it's safe?
Well, they can't. But the thing is,
you do it by limiting the harmful content that goes on. That's how you do it.
They're in control. They always claim that they're not publishers. They claim they're just platforms. They're not responsible for That's not true. They are responsible for their content. But I think it's like the seatbelt law. When that came in, everyone said, "Oh, well, it won't. People won't wear them, and it won't work." Well, yes, some people don't wear them, and some people,
Yes, but a lot of people wore them because they didn't want a hefty fine.
You just need to start mitigating against this stuff.
Well, I accept. Look, kids buy alcohol and cigarettes and using fake ID when they shouldn't, but that doesn't mean you don't have bans on kids buying alcohol.
You've got to start.
Let's get to a good news story. At least I think it's a good news story. Serena Williams is back. Should we listen into her?
I gotta change.
I had a panic attack there. I thought that was my phone.
Yes, I did as well. And I've seen it before, and I still thought it was my phone. Anyway, she's coming back to competitive tennis at the age of 44.
I know. Wow, it's a big ask, but
But it's great news. We're going to have to leave it there. Welcome back, Serena. Coming up, the England squad arrives in Miami with just over a week to go until the World Cup.
Hello, it's 7 o'clock. This is the Kathy Newman Show. How long's the 5 million going to last, Mr. Farage? Let's find out. Diane, who would you put in there?
It's not for me to say. I want to see.
Not you just yourself, accused
not
them.
you.
Do you ever look at yourself and think, are you the problem?
I do feel sorry for him, yeah.
We'll see what happens. Does it mean, frankly, that you are an irrelevant? Great to have this lovely couple on the sofa.
I know, what a dream team they are.
She's christened the couch.
Mayhem in the Middle East, rippling in America's West.
Get back! Get back!
The resolve of these protesters is now being seriously tested. I saw police being forceful, pushing young men and women to the ground as they made almost 100 arrests.
None of this is a peaceful protest.
I'm Martha Kellner, and I'm Sky's US correspondent based here in Los Angeles. How are you feeling?
I am angry.
It is an anti-woman agenda.
Will the cold affect your voters?
Well, we have a lot of tremendous support, but it's nasty out there.
Anybody else?
Should the Defence Secretary and the Vice...
Wait, what country are you
from? The UK.
Okay, we don't give a crap about your opinion and your reporting. Why don't you go back to your country where you have a major migrant problem?
President Biden, do you trust President Xi? President Biden says that this meeting went well. He said real progress was made on a whole host of issues. Will your candidates win?
I hope so. I think they will. I think they're great candidates.
There's no doubt that Kamala Harris and her team are harnessing the power of social media. Do you think Kamala is brat?
Kamala's brat.
Are you scared?
Yeah, we were scared. It was terrible. Strong wind, building tearing down.
As them say, our God works, so we can't do nothing.
The people here know that worse storms may well be on their way. Sky News, get the full story first. Free wherever you get your news. Ghislaine Maxwell has pleaded not guilty to all 6 charges against her. Mum, how are you feeling today?
Jeffrey said, you answer to Ghislaine, you just don't cross her.
The best thing about being a Sky News journalist... My darling.
Beth Rigby, Sky News.
Is being a Sky News journalist. You said to people, I'm not coming back for more, but you have come back for more. Well, let's kick off and make a statement. What can our Prime Minister say to you to not impose tariffs?
He's coming out!
What more do you need?
We're trying to see as much as we can.
We're in an area that's just been reclaimed. Mr. Zuma, Sky News.
People are directly protesting. The whole neighbourhood has rallied around her. It's been impenetrable to journalists over the last 2 years of war in Sudan.
I've been waiting for this for 2 years. It doesn't feel like a big homecoming.
It was never going to be pretty. War isn't pretty.
Time now to catch up with all of the very latest sports news and Teddy.
We're here at Silverstone to see if Alpine's Franco Colapinto can pick which of these 5 drivers is the real professional.
So the idea is we're going to do hot laps and then we're going to have a race.
Is it karting drivers or like...
Professional driver.
Professional driver, not karting.
No, not karting.
Can you show me their faces?
It's a mixture of ages.
Okay.
No, we can't show you their faces because you might recognise one of them.
Green flag, green flag.
Vamos!
Does he go wet or is slicks?
I think they're
slicks.
I think
Oh
they're
my god.
Right.
Slicks in the wet. That's proper English, huh?
That's how we do it at Silverstone.
Actually, really good lines, eh? It's quite tricky with the slicks on the wet or what?
So what do we think of him or her?
Oh, we got girls?
Yes, we have girls.
Okay, we got that mix. Hit the curve? No curve. Oh, a bit wide. Hit the curve, come on.
I mean, actually, I don't think you need this right now. You can just talk.
No, this is quite cool, eh?
I got
Oh, a bit of oversteer. Okay. The Alpine is better than that. Oh, sliding.
Right, so what do we make of this one so far? Driver number 1, what do we think?
Nah, he's not a pro. The pro would be like this on the straight. I would.
What do we make of the second?
Oh, this guy. He tucked in, eh?
Okay.
You see, he did what the coach said. He's got some nice boots.
Yeah?
The boots, are they given by the track? No?
Yeah.
They are personal.
Yeah, well, that could be a giveaway, couldn't it?
Police. Police. Oh, the body! He's gonna follow the cart.
Using his
He's using all the
physical
track.
ballast.
He's using the outside of the track.
Okay.
It's very slippery in the rubber.
So
Good, I like him.
potentially the pro.
Look. Okay, vamos!
Oh.
He has extra time.
It was a bit of peacocking then, wasn't it?
Yeah.
A little bit of showboating.
No, he loves it.
Yeah.
He's probably racing in go-kart.
Yeah, okay.
They got pressure, right? They got cameras on them.
Yeah, he's got you commentating.
For them, yeah.
Whoa. What do you think?
He's really, he carried a lot of speed there. This one is good, and the next one, I think the 2 previous ones were not.
So 1 and 2, we're saying no. We don't think.
No.
But 3 and 4 potentially.
But number 2 was good.
Okay.
I think he's young.
Okay, so this is your number 3 here
This is
now.
number 3.
Yeah.
And it's not bad. Number 3 and 4, I trust. More than my 43, actually. I'm sort of 43 for points.
Well, that was the wrap. Thank you so much for watching. All the top stories coming up right here on Sky News with Anila Dunn. Thanks so much for watching.